back with another episode of Expandable, and today I'm excited about this topic because we get to kind of dig into your brain a little bit. With business owners looking to expand, generally at some point it's going to come with new real estate. It's going to be I need to expand my footprint, or you have inventory or something's happening. Talking on the commercial kind of wholesale side, and even sometimes for the retail. So what I thought would be interesting is to talk about the top big 3 mistakes you see business owners making when they're looking to get into a new building. So, this could be commercial financing related, the financing side, or it could be just, maybe they get a little too overzealous, or, the type of buildings they look at aren't appropriate.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm interested. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, I'm always kind of looking at on the financing side on commercial buildings is, what other purposes does it have? Mm-hmm. How specialty is it? So having a building that it has multiple purposes, multiple types of trades that can come into it, that granted, someone's buying a building, they have that specific use in mind.
Yes.
But it's nice knowing that you have a lot of other uses for that building, because then that's going to give growth, or you want out, you need to locate. That's going to keep the pricing more stable.
Yes. So it can be sold more easily to someone else. There'll be more
potential buyers, things are going to,
and I think even if you think you're going to continue to grow rapidly and you're going to, grow out of that space, then it's probably a best practice to do that, because then you can get out of it quicker and not lose money.
Yeah. You don't want something so isolated that only fits you.
This reminds me of the old Wendy's buildings, or the Wendy's restaurants, or
with the glass
Burger King. Like you can see, everything under the sun that's been in those buildings after they've left them. But every time you look at it, you're like, that's a Burger King, that's a Wendy's. That's what comes to mind.
I think the Miami subs.
Yes.
Because people think that that one didn't make it, and it's still no, I'm still looking like Miami subs.
Yeah, their Philly cheesesteak, it was so good.
I like their chicken Philly too.
Yeah. It was so good. I don't know what happened to that. They had one in Longwood right there where I grew up. And we'd go through every once in a while. But I remember it being a little higher priced.
They opened one in DeLand 20 years ago. Before ever Chick-fil-A could even make it here. So it was wow.
Yeah, so they didn't know their market that well, I guess. They should have stuck to Daytona.
Or Miami, yeah.
So, all right, that's good. That's a good one. What else comes to mind?
Other things come to mind. Now, yes, people buy for expansion, but you can buy too big. Mm-hmm. There could be a time frame. If you've got dead, wasted space, that is... you're paying for it. Mm-hmm. One way or another, properties usually go by per square foot. You do need to have a realistic in the mind of how you're going to grow into it if you're going to do. A lot of companies, it's too much. And, you have too big a workspace also can be a determinant. It takes too long to get things done. So you really got to size it, I think, appropriately and have a good gauge on where you are headed in the future and efficiencies. It's almost like a house. And now that living in a house, prior to 2008-9, the McMansions, remember that? Everybody wanted a big old house.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, you're going to be cash poor, house rich. I mean, you need that facility to earn money.
Yeah.
And if you're dumping money into that for wasted space, it's a bad idea. You need to turn for sales. I mean, that's focus on that.
I think that was right before the Dave Ramsey era.
I know.
And then it was like, oh, okay, I see this.
But you could see that they were built like crap. But they were huge, 6,000 square foot.
Yeah.
And I have 2 children. I know you've got 3, but I don't care. If you've got a 2,500 square foot house or 7,000, typically everybody's residing in the same 2 to 3 rooms.
Yes.
So
yeah. And if they want to get away from everyone, 2,500 square feet can do it.
Yeah, and nobody thought, wait a second, I got 5,000 square feet and I got to, AC that.
Yeah, exactly.
And in Florida, it's not like you can say, well, I'm not using those 3 bedrooms. I'm going to cut that off. Well, then you're just going to have mold.
Well, and then you just Airbnb it.
Yeah.
Put an exterior door, Airbnb.
So I think, don't go in the area of McMansions, size appropriately.
Yeah. Okay, well, it makes me think, and then there's probably formulas out there, but I would think for certain businesses that have inventory and they have kind of footprint internally where they're operating, maybe manufacturing, they probably know there's formulas out there that they can put their hands on to assess a building to see if this is going to fit their needs and for how long, because you can do a calculation on the amount of widgets you can produce with the machinery that you're maybe upgrading to.
And two, if you've got the liquidity and it's a cost savings to have an oversupply of inventory, maybe there's price breaks to buy a lot. And I don't think companies do that enough that they're really sourcing it,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was having a conversation yesterday with a customer, and they buy a lot of steel. And so now with the pricing up, they're doing everything they can to buy directly from the steel manufacturers as opposed to
through a buyer.
The middleman broker. They're like, no, we'll buy the raw steel. We can store it here. We're using it, but trying to cut.
Yeah, I love that.
And up.
I love that because it's knowing your business and seeing, okay, well, do we have the capacity if we scale up in a building like this? Well, we're not currently using that space, but we buy direct. Well, now that's a repurpose, and if you could get into a multi-use beyond that, now you're really, you're being strategic about that buy.
Correct.
Yeah.
What else? We give two. I mean, it was a couple that mixed into it, and
I got one.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So, I see this a little bit, but I'm curious to see how much you see it. But and we're talking really mainly commercial, industrial, wholesale type companies, or maybe providing a service from there, not necessarily retail,
or even offices, but
right,
not
or
like
professional offices. Yeah. But it seems like I think sometimes people can get too fancy too quick.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they have a big growth year and they're like, I want to show that we're growing.
I was in a software company not too long ago.
Yeah.
And, it was, I forget what the rate, Class A office space.
Granted,
they did it right before COVID and it was a lease, but, oh, wow.
Yeah.
They literally could use 5% of what they have leased out.
Yeah. That was a hard COVID lesson, I'm sure. One of those case studies.
Absolutely. But then again, how do they ever, I don't think they ever would have filled it even prior to COVID. It was that, we got to be in Orlando metropolitan area. We got to have our name up here. We got to have this. But, I think now, and hopefully I've always thought it was a negative when I'm talking to a company and they're based out of such a huge metro area that I know the cost of living is.
Yeah.
I always found, oh, great. That's wonderful. You're in San Francisco. Yeah. No, I don't want to pay for your software. I'm going to go to a competitor that is somewhere else.
Yeah, it's so interesting how that landscape has changed.
But I always thought that way. It was like, if somebody in Duluth, Georgia can do the same thing as, San Francisco, why in the world would I even consider paying for you?
That's right.
Rent there. No.
Yeah. Because immediately,
$100,000.
Yeah. Immediately there's a baked in cost that goes away.
Has to be.
That's such an interesting thing with the sort of exodus from California, people moving across the country to Florida and Texas and different places, and how that is starting to seep into our psyche about who we buy from. Because I think you're right, for decades that you're going to think like that if you're a savvy business owner and you're buying,
people
things.
are not caring from buying from China just because it was cheap, but yet on other things, oh, they're smart. They're not that smart if they live there paying that extra.
Yes,
no.
That's right. Yeah. So I think it's interesting how
they're smart spending your dollar.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, well, those are good. Those are good. Three. Anything else comes to mind? I think there's a lot of mistakes that can be made, and maybe
location. You've got to take in location. There is a cost of your employees, how far away they are, you driving, how many times you got to access it. There's a cost to that. Where are you going? So that plays a why. That's why in industrial or a lot of times placed near whether it's railroad or major highways and
So, I don't know if this one has really a place in this conversation, but it seems very related in that, what's your take on kind of advising companies that want to get into a building and maybe, they're kind of dead set on it for some even strategic reason, then they can make a case for why they should be in there, but it's going to push them a little bit. But their thing is, okay, well, we'll lease out, a third of the building to other tenants and basically be a landlord.
That's a great idea.
Do you think that's a good idea? Or are there cases where you would tell people to shy away from that?
I think everything depends. If it's an easy break, that they're not impeding on your business, it's not taken away. then absolutely, you know, that would be a good in the growth stage. All right, you've got people in here, you leased it out this. Now you got a 5-year plan to grow into that extra space. You know, no, that's not a bad idea to set yourself up that way at all.
Yeah. My thought is like, I think it can be good generally, and you see it a lot, but, you know, depending on the type of business you're running, how much is that, you know, being a landlord going to take away from the daily operations of what you're doing and be a distraction?
Yes.
You know, I guess if you're in an old building that hasn't been repaired and there's a lot of maintenance, it can be more of a distraction.
Yeah, you're responsible for that. You're going to have to get it done. So that depends too on your liquidity position. If you have good cash flow and it's not an issue to make repairs correct the first time they happen, then that's good, because that will save you in the long run. And
Yeah, cool. I like that idea. I don't think it's for everyone. I think some businesses just need to operate as they are as a business.
Yeah, so many people we come across, you know, they get into one, I wouldn't say one mindset, but if you're really good at one thing, yes, you stick with that. Don't divert. You know, sometimes when you liquidate yourself, you're all over the place. And I've seen businesses that they have a great business. Now they've bought, let's say, residential real estate that they want to rent out. And so, but now they're running around fixing up the rental houses and stuff, and they're forgetting about the true profit center that made it available for them.
That's right.
To do that. So maybe they should have a management team handle that. I don't know, but they, you know, there's opportunity costs you got to take into fact too.
Sure. All right. Hey, thanks for that. That's a good kind of flyover on mistakes that buyers can make. We're going to come at it from a little different angle, maybe from the buyer's angle on this next episode. So stick around.
Yeah.